Okay, so welcome back to Sound Bites, the show that celebrates good people doing great things in the local food and drink industry. And it's my pleasure today to have Chef Craig Flinn. So, for those few of you in the audience may not be aware that Chef Craig Flinn has kind of been this leader in the Atlantic food industry for, well, I'll age you, Craig, and I
Yeah.
age myself at the same time. That I'd say a quarter century, but we go back a long ways. We worked together a little bit way back in the late '90s with Chef Michael Smith, and we've known each other for a long time. We've traveled on the other side of the Atlantic together to cooking up food and pouring wine to people in Italy, and we've kind of known each other for a long time. So you've done a lot in your career. We worked together with, like I said, Michael Smith, and you did worked on the shows with Michael. You've written, I don't know how many cookbooks, what, 4 or 5 now?
Four now with a fifth on the go. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, and then very successful restaurant in Chives. That really did was kind of a landmark restaurant in some way, in the way that it took. Michael is, in a way, had done a lot of focus on local before the focus
Mhm.
on local was cool, and then you really brought that to I think a wider audience here in Halifax, and just the success you had in terms of celebrating local ingredients and really bringing that to a Halifax market. Before that was a trend, but thankfully it's gone beyond trend now and is
Sure.
just life. But you did that early, and then Two Doors Down, and so you've had a lot of success, and I hope probably part of that success is be able to step back from that, and I know you're not involved in the restaurants anymore, but it would be good to know what actually you're up to these days.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you, Mark. That was a lovely intro. It's certainly been a wonderful, period of quarter century. Which, yes, you dated me terribly there.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
I actually started cooking full time in university, so '89. So 33 years of making my living cooking, and I guess 27 years now as sort of a trained certified chef. But it's been a wonderful journey with a lot of lovely adventures along the way, and certainly am proud to have done work in the restaurant industry for 21 years, in particular the local food market, and having a platform with Chives initially, and then Two Doors Down later, to talk and celebrate local ingredients. And I still am very, very passionately involved in that. In my home life and in any events and things that I do in my current work. And yeah, it's an exciting time, but it's also a different time. I mean, I have a young family now. I was blessed late in life by finding a lovely lady named Jacqueline who found me not too annoying and decided that, yes, I'll marry you and let's have a family. So here I am, 51 years of age and 33 years a chef, and now I have a 5 and a 1 year old. And life looks a lot different than it did as a kind of a obsessive compulsive workaholic for the first
Yes.
those 25 years that you just referred to.
Yeah, yeah, and certainly, in many of those years, I know were long hours and long days. And so, we haven't seen each other in quite a while, but which is, I'm glad we have the show actually to reconnect. But we also, so it just kind of happenstance, just because of my job. Every once in a while, I get emails from people, and lo and behold, an email comes through and says, "Oh, chef's working with the egg farmers of Canada. Here's a recipe for a kind of an interesting looking strata recipe." And I guess with your kind of commitment to ingredients, like you must have you must weigh out when you do these things and have partners that you don't just jump in, I'm assuming. So what compels you to work with people like Egg Farmers of Canada on some of their, kind
Mhm.
of they got some fun, and they got some fun stuff going on. We love the current, their kind of commercials where you think about eggs in a different way, and it's quite
Absolutely,
creative.
yeah.
So what brought this along?
Well, it was 2016 that I was contacted by Egg Farmers of Canada, so, very quickly gonna be, 7 years that I've worked with them, and, it was a very natural fit for me because, you're right, I do, you know, really want to I have to believe strongly in whatever I want to talk about and promote. And eggs have always been my favorite culinary ingredient. And I think that I would not be alone in the chef world. I think that chefs would, many, many, many chefs would say that eggs are absolutely essential for every aspect of cooking. It's not just about, yes, it is about your meals at home and what people eat at home for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But as a trained chef, there's also that incredibly important component of it as a structural ingredient in baking, leavening, thickening, flavor enhancement. I mean, there's just literally not a corner of the culinary universe that doesn't have an egg in it. And I was always fascinated by them. And then also, as much as from day one of culinary school, you're working with eggs every day. But then I started to travel, and I started to realize that, especially, and I'm going back, 20 years, but I hadn't really been open in the same way to eggs in every single aspect of your sort of daily eating. And then you travel a bit and you realize that other parts of the world have really embraced that, and that's I think that's what one of the things that Egg Farmers of Canada has done really, really well, both in the advertising that you were talking about, but also in some of the promotions that we've done with other chef ambassadors. But it's this idea of celebrating the egg at any time, eggs anytime, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, the highly versatile ingredient. But also the fact that they are, and this is what really sold me, was the fact that they are always fresh, always local, always high quality, and that's because of this incredible farm to table or farm to market system of supply management that Egg Farmers of Canada does with their 1,200 families across the country. So when you go into any store, and I did not know this, but you go into any grocery store in this country, and it could be the biggest American stores that you can think of.
Mm.
They are local eggs that are in those stores, and they've gotten there in sort of like a 4 to 7 day window from the farm directly to that market. So a lot of people don't know that, and that's one of the things that I like to talk about most. When
Yeah.
yes, there's all of these other aspects we can touch on, but this idea that no matter where you go in Canada and you go into any market, you're buying local, fresh, high quality eggs is a pretty amazing statistic, and that's a testament to the work that they do.
And I think that's a pretty amazing statement in its own right. And I think, and us who've done our travels across the waters and been in where eggs are, there's more, I would say, a connectivity between that eggs come from a place and come from a neighbor down the road,
Mhm.
where the danger in Canada sometimes with certain, we do it's a widget, and it's great to hear that eggs actually go back to that kind of Italian French kind of concept that it is actually our neighbors giving us our eggs that we cook every day.
Yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
exciting. So and like you said, it is. I think it's the one. It is the wonder ingredient. I think if you got olive oil and garlic and onions that go in a lot of things, but nothing compares to eggs. And we use it in the morning. We use it at night. We use it at lunchtime. We put in sweet. We put in savory. We thicken.
Yeah,
It's just crazy what eggs can do for us. So
it's true.
so we're coming up to the holidays, and you kind of came up with this, and I'm thinking, at this time about New Year's, and that, like, we still have some time to get together with friends and family, and brunch is such a wonderful kind of way to do it, because it's kind
Mhm.
of the one of the meals that everybody can get involved in. You can have the kids, you can have the grandmothers. It's in the daytime. So you kind of this dish came. A Croque Madame kind of strata. So inspiration or is that,
It
I mean, I
was
love stratas. So
Listen, stratas are great, strata breakfast casserole, Christmas morning casserole, it has a lot of different names, but, for me, the reason I really love this idea of sort of a make ahead dish, and that was one of the things that we wanted to do in our holiday promotion. We talk about these sort of festive make ahead dishes that sort of take the stress off of people, and when you have a lot going on, and allows you to maybe focus on the meat, enjoying the meal, and less attention in the kitchen. When you're having people over, whether
Mhm.
that be for a brunch or whether that be just around your tree opening presents in the morning, which is when I particularly like this dish. But the inspiration for this actually came from, and I think there have been versions of these
Mhm.
before, but a croque monsieur is that sort of, and what it would be, that sort of classic French ham and cheese sandwich, which is kind of a toasty, smothered in beautiful rich bechamel.
Mm.
And a croque madame is the addition of a fried egg on top, usually with a runny yolk. So all of those flavors, I thought, these would work really, really well in the strata, with the milk component, which is the bechamel in the sandwich being the custard. So you get this incredibly crisp out sort of exterior, but then the egg and the bread, which is what a strata is sort of a custard soaked bread, and then you have all your savory ingredients. Um, it really it creates this very, very particular, soft yet crunchy, breakfast
Mhm.
casserole or meal and brunch casserole. Call it any. It's good for any time of day. In fact, it's even good for dinner because
Yeah.
it truly is savory, and that cheese is phenomenal as well. The ham, and it's topped it off with caramelized onions, and that's actually a bit of a nod to an Alsatian tart, because as much as a croque madame, is mostly ham and cheese and bechamel and bread, with the egg on top. I felt like sort of needed one other thing, and I always loved that Alsatian tart, which is a bacon and caramelized onion tart
Mhm.
that's sort of in the and it's, you get versions of it in Switzerland as well, but
Mhm.
mostly the Alsace in France is very, very known for that. So I topped it off with that, and it's that sort of additional, crispy, crunchy sweetness on the top that kind of, for me, makes it extra
Mhm.
special. But it's also really, really easy to do. I mean, you cannot mess this up. And I didn't use Gruyere, which would be classic.
Yeah.
What I decided to do was focus on a couple of Canadian cheeses. So an Oka, great sort of nutty aroma to it, and a good aged white cheddar. You have lots of different cheddars across the country. We have sort of,
Mhm.
Prince Edward Island cheddar is a great
Of course.
example when we have locally. Um, and those two combined really sort of recreate that Gruyere sort of, cave aged
Mhm.
earthiness, and that's what the inspiration was. And it also reminded me of the first time my wife and I went to Paris. We landed in the plane, we got off in the airport, and we had, we basically checked in, and we were starving but exhausted, and she had never been to France. So we went in and we had a croque madame, and it was magical. It was just the perfect way to start off, a first trip to Paris together.
Amazing, and to your point, and really, now you are the family man. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I never knew. For the most of the time I've known you, you weren't the fam. You had no fam, and so this is, yeah, like you said, a little bit late in life. So, it's got to be different. I assume cooking and breakfast and brunch celebrations part of the family traditions now.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I'm very proud that my son, who's 5, name is Hudson. Hudson loves to cook, so, which is so exciting to me. But he actually is, one of his favorite things to do is he makes his own omelets now.
Oh wow,
And he doesn't like them overcooked, which is great news to my
yeah.
French chef who trained me 25 years ago in Switzerland. But he doesn't like them overcooked, and he's always obsessed with cracking the egg properly and opening it so he doesn't get any shell. And every time he does it successfully, he goes, "No shell, daddy, no shell."
That's amazing.
So yes, we cook eggs constantly. It's one of it remains and always will remain one of our family's favorite ingredients for sure.
It's amazing. So, you step back from the restaurant world. The things on the horizon for Chef Craig Flynn. You alluded to maybe we might see a new book in the near future.
Yes. So new book is be out. I think it's late summer. So maybe which would be early September. Um, yeah, we've started shooting it. We so the photography is what we're focusing on right now. Into just finishing it up in January, and then it'll go into editing and printing, etc. So for release in the fall, and it's a book about the foods that my family celebrates throughout the year for all the occasions. So it'll be, the holidays, um, Easter, Mother's Day, summer vacations, Thanksgiving, etc. So it's all about the recipes from my home and what we make year round, and a few nods to the past. My, like, for example, I've lost my parents actually since you and I
Yeah.
last
Sorry to hear
spoke,
that.
and a lot of things are different in terms of the way our family spends time together. So there aren't visits to my folks anymore, but what we do is we keep a lot of those traditions alive through the recipes that we cook together. So there'll be a lot of those as well, and and of course, me being me, there will be a lot of egg recipes in the book as well.
Of
But
course.
it's a chefy book only in that um, it is. I try to focus on good techniques of cooking in this book. So if you're roasting a turkey, it's not really about making it overly complicated and having like a 5-day process to make a turkey. It's just about, okay, everyone's busy, everyone has a lot on the go, holidays are busy. How do we come up with a solid meal, often quickly and often on a budget, with a lot of healthy ingredients? How do you do that and make it tasty for everybody? And that's kind of the focus of this book.
Well, I think, and I think that's what most people appreciate about your recipes and way of cooking is that it's truly just gets down to good flavor, good techniques, and not overcomplicating it. And I
Hmm.
can attest to the Thanksgiving part will be great because I still think I think we've done some Thanksgiving articles in the past together, so
We have, yeah.
I still
Yep.
recall some smashed potato recipes and from I think from circa 2006 or seven. So anyway, I think it was so good to talk to you, Craig. Just wanted to say thanks for coming on. We're gonna pop up that recipe at the end of the video, and you everybody should be looking forward to that new book coming out late summer or early fall. Don't forget if you like the videos to subscribe and like them. But anyway, thank you for joining us, Craig. It was great to have you on the show.
It was great, yeah, and I would only ask one thing, and that is if you can, I'd love to see what people are cooking with your egg recipes. You can hashtag season to share, and you can find this recipe also and a lot of other ones at eggs.ca. So um,
Perfect.
I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about ventures and eggs and my family and recipes, and it's good to connect with
Yeah.
you again, Mark. I
Yeah,
really
well,
appreciate it.
we're gonna have to have a brunch together sometime soon.
I would love that.
Perfect. Okay. Thank
Cheers.
you.